Well, we have ourselves sort of a gray, cloudy, smoky morning here in Winnipeg. Woke up this morning, opened my windows for fresh air. Whoa, smelled like somebody was smoking outside. Well, not that kind of smoke actually. It's quite a difference in this type of smoke, but not so bad that it burns your eyes or anything. But there is a weather advisory out here in Winnipeg for air quality, and yeah, so that's why it's kind of gray out there. It's yeah, well, it is cloudy, but it's also smoky. So all right, enough about that. Now you're going to notice that there is a little bit of difference here in these since the last time you saw them. Well, last night I did come back to the model table, and I did do something for probably about 5 minutes or so. So why don't I show you what I did, and then we'll get back to today and just carry on. Okay, about I would say 3 hours has passed here now since we glued these up, and I would think that the glue is probably, yeah, I don't think anything's going to slowly let go, but just in case, it's probably a good idea to maybe hold against so I don't pull the pipe off. At least makes sense to me. Maybe I should be slipping on the macro lens here so we can see if we can see any residue on the side of the funnel. I'm not seeing anything at this distance, but then of course we're quite a ways back. Okay. Oh my, look at this one. It came loose. I wonder how long it's been like that. It didn't seem to come away from the funnel. I never noticed that until just now. Anyway, let's stick on the macro lens just for fun of it, and we'll look really close here. I don't think there's any use putting on the super macro. Okay, this is going to serve as a dual purpose here. We can check and see now we can also see how the glue connection is that we put on. Yeah, I'm not seeing any residue on the surface, are you? This is the one that came loose all by itself. Yeah, you can see that it was glued on pretty good. Yeah, that one's attached really well. Now it's kind of hard to let go of them without moving them because I don't really have them fastened down too good here. Yep, they're glued on good. Well, I think we can assume that the other funnel's going to be okay. Now here's where we can see the glue sort of glinting in the light. If the light hits it just right, or once again just wrong. So my thinking is, what I'm going to try to do is, I don't know which to do first. Should I do the gray of the pipe, or the number 22 gray of the funnel? I don't think it really matters. I know that I'm going to accidentally get, let's say I'm doing the 22 here, and I get a little bit on the funnel. If I'm really careful when I do the, I'm going to get, okay, I'm going to say this again. When I'm doing the 22 here, I might accidentally get some on the pipe. I'm getting tired, I guess. And, but then when I do the pipe, if I'm super careful not to get the gray from the pipe onto the 22, it might work. Or would it be maybe better to do the pipe first, and then sort of come at it, you know? And I also want to be careful not to go any more than absolutely necessary, because the texture of the paint from the paintbrush is going to be a lot different than that from the airbrush on the 22. No, the pipe was brushed, so it's not going to make any difference. So if I just go really, really easy here and do the 22 first, you know, only as much as necessary, and let it dry, and then do the, what was it, 77? Okay, now let's try to only paint over top of the glue. I realize that it looks like I think that once that dries, it'll dry flat, and we're not going to see it. Then later we'll do the 77 right there. Now I could be wrong, but I think that this was the piece that Sergei was mentioning, that when he did his hood, it was missing a piece. I think it was missing this piece right here. I don't know if he's watching, but if you're watching, Sergei, is this the part that was missing a little piece, and you had to make something up? No. Oh, come on. You know what? I think I'm getting tired, folks. Okay, now it's supposed to go something like this. Now, the reason I'm doing this now is because I have to finish painting with my little brush here. I've already cleaned it off. But I also have to go along the base of each one of these. I can see, you know, the glue is glinting pretty good there. So I'm going to call it quits for this evening, and we'll see you tomorrow. Well, it is tomorrow. Now, see if I have better luck holding on to this than I did last night. Doesn't look like I'm going to. Okay. I'm trying to be so careful not to break this thing. What I'm thinking of is maybe I'll use a little bit of the Revel and put a little drop in each one of those two holes there. And uh-oh. The needle came out. Okay, we're going to take a break here. Okay, let's not have a disaster going on here. So maybe we'll do a dry run. I figured as long as I got to push the stop button, I may as well put on the macro lens. Now we are not moved in quite as close as we could be. It's garbage day in Winnipeg. You can hear the garbage truck outside. Maybe if I held it from the top. Oh. Now, for those of you who have been screaming at your screen, Ron, you're trying to put it in the wrong way around. Well, please be assured I eventually figured out my mistake here. Okay, the way this thing is bent, I have to put a little bit of a bend in the plastic. Why am I having so much trouble with this? Is it a case of I'm just scared to put any force on it? I wonder, maybe if I was to okay, let's try it like this. Put a little bit more leverage on it. I'm trying to get both of those pins in the holes at the same time. You know what? I'm going to have to do this off camera, folks. Okay, I just had a thought, and I steadied the manual, and I've realized that because the drawing is not real clear, I was trying to put it on the wrong way. It's actually supposed to go on this way. Yeah, well, that's going to make it a lot easier. And then this part here is obviously supposed to go up against maybe a bulkhead or something that is going to be when we put the funnel in place. Now I can see where I'm going to have to be very careful once we get this glued on that we don't break this off. Notice, heavy on the we. Okay, now we are moved in as close as we can get without using the super macro. Gotta steady my hand here. Oh, too much. Well, I gotta repaint anyway. Now, you won't be able to see me doing it, but I'm just pushing down at the very top here. Sort of see if we can wiggle that down into place a little better. You know, it's actually going to take very little force to glue it straight up against the... Okay, how does that look? Other than there's way too much glue, I think it's going to be alright. Now, if I don't get to use the two-camera system every once in a while, I start to get the shakes. So we don't want that to happen. Now, let's find something here. If I move this off to the right, just a little bit like this, it'll spring back pretty much in the right place. Alright, we are going to have to repaint anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze this together before I turn it upside down, and that way when I release, it will suck it back up into the tube. At least that's the plan. Okay. Oh, I think I got too much there. Let's just get some of that off. Now you can't help but notice how much of this is out of focus. Like almost all of the pipe from one end to the other is out of focus. Only the area in question is, well, kind of in focus, and I guess that's the main thing. But what happened here was I forgot to stop my lens down. Normally I stop it down all the way, and that gives the more depth of field. You've often heard me talking about trying to increase the depth of field. Well, when I stop the lens down, the perceived sharpness is better. Yeah, sorry about that. Now, how does that look? Look, I can actually see it better by looking in my monitor right now. I think once I paint that over, it's going to look alright. Now, I'm not sure if this is pushing down as hard as it should, so let's just use our holder downer here. Now I'll put it back here. Okay, now does that look straight? Yeah, it looks pretty good actually. What would happen if I turn that while the pressure's on? Then you can see it better. Better move it over just a little bit here so it's not going to be... Yeah, that's going to be alright. Check the monitor. Oh yeah. That's going to be good. Now, a moment ago I was talking about depth of field and how I'd forgot to stop the lens down. Now, normally what I will do is I will stop the lens down before I push record. Right now, it's once again, the lens is wide open. The depth of field is about as bad as it can possibly get. But what I'm going to try to do, and I don't know, this might not work, but I think it should. While the camera is running, I'm going to stop it down. Right now, for you camera buffs, this lens is wide open. It's at 4.8, f4.8. That's what it is when it's at its closest focusing distance. I believe it's a 2.8 lens if you use it normally like a small telephoto. Anyway, you're getting a lot more information than you need here. I'm going to stop it down, and you should be able to notice how what is in the foreground and what is in the background becomes sharper. So here we go. Okay, right now it is closed up to f57. Now that's I don't think a true f57, but because we're moved right in with the macro lens, it's well, yeah, I guess it would be f57. But you can see how everything becomes much sharper. And as I say, normally I have this done before I press record. Now, when I start beating something to death, boy, do I ever beat it to death. Here's another example. Right now I have on my wide-angle lens, my zoom wide angle. It goes from 16 to 35 millimeter. And at 16 it'll take in about 90 degrees or a little better. And at 35, well, it takes in about half that much. Anyway, we're set at 35 right now. And the glue right here, that glue spot, that's pinpoint focus. That's the focal point, you might say, or the focusing spot. But you'll notice my mug in the background is quite blurred. But when I stop the lens down, you'll see how the background, as well as the foreground, becomes a little bit sharper. Okay, right now we're set at we're stopped down to f22. Now, don't anybody dare tell me how my lens will be sharper at 5.6 than it will at 22. I know about that, but the difference is almost negligible. Yes, it is slightly sharper on whatever you're focused on. I know that, but the overall perceived sharpness is much better this way. That's why a lot of you camera buffs will wonder, well, why does Ron always have his lens stopped all the way down as far as it'll go? Like you'll see it in the background on the screen, it often says f22. And you're thinking to yourself, well, I was told that the lens is sharper at 5.6. Well, it is, but only on what it's focused on. So, excuse me, that's why I do it the way I do it. Okay, now to keep with beating things to death, right now the word Winnipeg is what I focused on. It's sort of halfway between this and the fact that I want you to see the time. And you'll notice in the screen, for those of you who are camera buffs and care, and that might not be very many, right about now probably people are clicking the stop button, but anyway, we're shooting at a 30th of a second, f22, and the ISO is 1000. It shows up in the bottom of my screen, gives me a little bit of data that nobody else needs to know. And what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to just go ahead and start touching up with the number 77 and the number 22, like around the base there. I don't know if you can see it glinting where we just did that gluing. It's, you know, if I my goodness, I'm getting tongue-tied. Maybe it's time to call it quits here. Yeah, so I'm just going to do that. I got a call from my neighbor a few minutes ago, and he said because of the smoke in the air, his allergies are bothering him, and I've had my windows open all day, and it's about as smoky inside the house as it is outside the house. It doesn't seem to bother me, although I do find that I'm having to clear my throat a lot more than normal. However, be all that as it may, I don't know if I have time to do any more videoing this afternoon. Maybe I'll just go ahead and work on this, and maybe I'll video a little bit, but in all likelihood you're gonna see me after it's done. Yeah. Okay, so where are we focused right now? Well, right about right here. And yeah, I think that once these dry, I think it's going to blend in pretty good. It's still a little bit wet. Yeah, it's too bad that I couldn't airbrush that so it would match. You know, like this that I'm touching right now is airbrushed, and of course right there it's paintbrushed. And there's an obvious difference. The paintbrush leaves sort of more of a glossy look, and you can see it if the light hits it just wrong. All right, we're gonna leave it for today, folks. I might come at it again this evening once this dries, and then I'll do the number 77 on the pipes. Obviously, I don't want to be doing it right now. It almost looks like I missed right there. You know what? I think that's wet. That's the problem. Yeah, that hasn't dried yet because I know I painted in there. I remember doing it. Might have to give it a second coat. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and all being well, We'll be seeing you tomorrow.